One from John Kerry this morning, as I said, a second, much more aggressive anti-Assad tone from Susan Rice now. Big question is, what will Barack Obama's message be in all of this once he goes before the US media?
Thank you very much for your thoughts, Armin, George. I'm going to hand you over to François Picard now for the France 24 debate and plenty more on Syria.
All right, many thanks for that. Chris Moore in the newsroom. Could it be a breakthrough? The Russian foreign minister suggesting in the presence of his Syrian counterpart that Damascus hand its chemical weapons over. The Syrians say they're ready to accept. The Moscow meeting, hot on the heels of last Friday's sit-down between Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin at the G20 in St. Petersburg. Obama, who has since engaged in a full media blitz this Monday, he's scheduled for 6 television interviews to convince a skeptical U.S. Congress and even more skeptical U.S. public opinion to sign on to an eventual intervention in Syria. And with his own media blitz, well, the Syrian president himself, who speaks of consequences for America in case of airstrikes, will be checking in with our correspondent in Damascus during the show. So is it a big political breakthrough or a smokescreen to derail Obama's efforts to convince Congress? With us in the France 24 debate, Léa Pizarre, former communications director for U.S. President Bill Clinton, author in French of, let's see, I wrote it down here. How would you translate this? Storm over the Atlantic, France, the U.S. ended over the Iraq War. Also with us, former advisor to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Meir Habib is a newly elected member of the French Parliament who represents the French abroad, the French in that part of the world, in fact. Thank you for being with us. Thanks as well. She's on the French Senate's Foreign Affairs and Defense Commission, Joëlle Garriaud-Melam from the Conservative UMP Party. Thank you for being with us. And from the University of Oklahoma, Joshua Landis, author of the influential SyriaComment.com blog. Thank you for being with us again. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and on Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Now, if you haven't been watching the last few hours, there's been some developments. The idea of bringing in the international community to stockpile Syria's chemical weapons has been floated in past days in several quarters. When called on it, here's what the U.S. Secretary of State had to say in London a few hours ago.
Sure, he could turn over every single bit of his chemical weapons to the international community in the next week. Turn it over, all of it, without delay, and allow a full and total accounting for that. But he isn't about to do it, and it can't be done, obviously.
Isn't about to do it, says John Kerry. Then, the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, in the company of his Syrian counterpart, picking up the mantle.
If establishing international control over chemical weapons in Syria will allow the possibility of avoiding strikes, then we will immediately start working with Damascus and appeal to the Syrian administration not only to put chemical weapons under international control, but also further those weapons' destruction, and to join the Organization on the Non-Proliferation of Chemical Weapons.
A handover of those weapons, the signing on to the stockpiling of those chemical weapons abroad, and also under the auspices, at least, of the international community, and the signing on to chemical weapons non-proliferation treaties. Joshua Landis, let me put it to you bluntly, is this a possible breakthrough? Joshua Landis? All right, we seem to have a technical issue with the University of Oklahoma. Joshua Landis, can you hear us now? Nope. All right, we'll try to sort that out for you. Léa Pizarre, what does your hunch tell you?
It's something between what the French call a coup de théâtre and perhaps a breakthrough. Honestly, it's too early to tell. We're not in the room with them. We don't know what is really on the table. Maybe it's theatrics, maybe it's for real, and we're just going to have to see what happens and what the diplomats from all sides say to each other.
Meir Habib, what's your hunch?
I'm afraid that it is a smoke screen. If somebody can be sure to take off all the chemical weapon of Syria, it will definitely be a good thing. But who can guarantee that? Who can believe to Assad? That's the point. So to destroy and to take away all the chemical weapons of Syria, it's a good thing. Nobody wants war. But nobody today can continue not to react after what Assad did. So that's a tough question.
Joël Garriomena.
Well, I welcome this move because we've got to avoid, I feel, at any cost, a military intervention in Syria. We'll probably have the opportunity to go back on that and explain. I'd like to explain my position, but I really do feel this could be, hopefully, a breakthrough. We've got to move on it. I mean, I understand the reaction of some of our American friends of Obama who are probably a bit uncertain and are hesitating about what next move to take. But we've got to take this open hand. In the same way that Bashar al-Assad has said that he would be ready to sit around the table and negotiate. Here again, we cannot say no. I know the rebels at the moment don't want to take this open hand, but we've got to insist, we've got to find a diplomatic solution. This crisis has gone for too long. It's not only a question of chemical weapons. So many people have been killed on both sides. I mean, let us not fool ourselves. The rebels have killed as well a lot of Christians. I mean, you know, there is, look at what happened
Right, so
just north of Damas.
For north of Damascus, we'll pick up. We'll pick up on that in a moment. So you're saying that we should be taking this offer seriously.
Yes.
Have we managed to reestablish the connection with Oklahoma? Joshua Landis, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Joshua, is this a smokescreen or is this a possible breakthrough?
Well, I'm sure they'll want to explore it, but they won't want to get thrown off track. Kerry has a very tight schedule. So does Obama. Tomorrow there's going to be the speech on Tuesday in front of the Congress by the president, and then there's going to be a vote. And the president does not want this to drag on. This is very unpopular in the United States, this action. He's going to have a hard time getting people in Congress to vote yes. And the longer he drags it out, the more the public, which doesn't want to see this done, is going to punish these congressmen for voting yes.
Can you stop the clock, Leah Pizarre, on the action that's going on Capitol Hill?
No, you can't stop the clock. It has started, and all the more so today because Congress is back in session. So,
all right, you're saying that, but I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I want us to listen to the Syrian foreign minister.
You have another coup de théâtre for me?
Well, just hear what he had to say. This is how the Syrians are responding to all of this. Walid al-Mualem rushing to accept Moscow's offer.
I announce that the Syrian Arab Republic welcomes the Russian initiative for the sake of our citizens' lives and our country's security, and because we trust in the Russian power's wisdom, which wants to stop the American aggression against our country.
Leah Pizarre, does it?
That's called trying to buy time, which I would be trying to buy too if I were in this gentleman's position. But let's face it, the Syrian regime has a huge credibility problem. And as my neighbor was saying, you know, are they really going to put everything on the table, or is this a big game of bluff? We'll find out. But in the meantime, no, you can't stop the clock.
All right, trying to buy time, but the heavy lift on Capitol Hill, has it gotten heavier now?
It's going to get increasingly heavier because, as I said, Congress is back in session, and this is the week for the full court press and for a scheduled vote. So, yes, it will keep on getting heavier.
It will keep on getting heavier. Joshua Landis, what are the specifics of this? Could there? We know that this idea has been floated of having the international community take over the stockpile of chemical weapons. Is it doable?
You know, this is quite a blunder by Kerry, who made this offer, not realizing what he's doing. And his spokeswoman came out immediately after and said this is only a rhetorical expression. And then immediately the Russians nabbed it. And so it does. It offers a way for Assad to drag this out because this will get into a whole discussion about can Americans go in and inspect all of the sites and see that there's no more chemical weapons? Where would you give them? Who's going to house it? It's going to be done. It could take months to set up this kind of an arrangement.
So Joshua, for you, this is a blunder. This isn't like, because there was that again, there were those 20 to 30 minutes. There were those 20 to 30 minutes where Obama and Putin met last Friday on the sidelines of the G20 summit. This isn't something orchestrated. This is a blunder.
Well, I think it was a blunder by the U.S. State Department, and now the Russians have jumped on it and tried to open this door for further negotiations. And it's possible that the whole world is going to want to see what happens, and congressmen are going to be able to use this as a delaying tactic, not to vote yes. One can seize a bunch of ramifications out of this, and it clearly is a complication. Kerry and Obama are going to want to keep the focus on the next few days in this vote in Congress and get this vote done. They're going to want to separate this from any possible negotiating position that could come down the line. I think they'll just push ahead, get this vote. The president needs to know where he stands on this, where the American people and Congress stand on this issue.
All right, before we ask whether or not he'll be able to get that vote, let's go to Damascus now. France 24's correspondent Lucy Fielder is in the Syrian capital. Lucy, we heard a moment ago the reaction from the foreign minister in Moscow. Has there been any reaction where you are?
Reaction tends to come pretty slowly here in Damascus. The main reaction has been that of the foreign minister, but those sources close to the government we've been speaking to over the last few days have been telling us they've been watching this with the whole debate with great concern. And I've been hearing from government sources that a response was being planned and that it would be a very fierce response. Now, of course, this is the message very much that the government's been wanting to put out and that we've been hearing from officials over the last few weeks. But it does suggest that they've been taking this very seriously indeed and that they've now seized on this chance to de-escalate, as Joshua said, to draw things out. Also, of course, this will recall the build-up to Iraq when weapons inspectors were so much of a crucial part for months and months of that build-up. And I think perhaps that's what the Syrian leadership is hoping will happen, to recall that in people's minds and how very unpopular that war was. They've been warning, of course, also of any sort of any strike setting the whole region alight. That's very much been something that the Syrian leadership sought to emphasize. And that's what we've been understanding could be meant by a response, not so much a response against any any strike on Syria directly, but a response by using Syria's allies. Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon, of course, have said that they won't stand idly by. Syrian leadership, Assad today as well, quite clearly pointing towards the fact that they could use their allies and could respond in some way or other.
All right, Lucy, thanks for that update there from Damascus, and we'll continue to get more updates. We haven't had a formal reaction yet from the White House. Maher Habib, does this change in any way the way you think the French should be proceeding?
The position of France is a moral position. Can we keep silence when people kill his own children on women? So on that point, the President Hollande, I'm not a socialist, but he take a moral and a good position. Once again, nobody wants war. When you speak about to control chemical weapon, I think that they have to destroy it. If people arrive to destroy, not control, destroy, to take away those weapons, it will be a good thing. But after Bashar al-Assad passed all the red lines, we have to, which kind of example can be for Iran nuclearization, which today is one of the most important points for the free world, because Iran are looking to what happened today, and no reaction can be a terrific message to Iran. The message can be okay. they can continue to nuclearize themselves, to have a nuclear weapon which is much more dangerous than chemical weapons, because you can protect yourself against chemical weapons. You cannot protect yourself if you have
against nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapon. So
let me ask you, Joël Gariot, are we in effect? You were saying a moment ago that this could be an opportunity to explore a political solution. Is it raising the white flag too soon when you listen to Maher Habib?
Not at all. That conflict within Syria has gone for too long. It's already 2 years.
How can you? Would you be entering those political discussions from a position of strength if you, again, hit the pause button, as we say on?
Well, I'm not sure about it. What I want is to try to find some peace. I mean, one can speak about the moral high ground, but everybody is against Assad. Everybody wants the peace. But I still feel this military intervention is not a solution. I really do feel it would be a strategic mistake, a political mistake for the United States, for France. I mean, Syria is not Mali. The situation is totally different. I mean, we are having at the moment a meeting of all French representatives of communities all over the world. We had a discussion about Syria, Egypt, Tunisia. All the people representing the French people living in these countries say, no, we cannot go. I mean, I hear what my colleague Meyer is saying. He represents Israel and Italy. But I can tell you, all the people on the ground say it is far too dangerous. The implications are huge. It's not a question of Syria. It's all over. Let us remember what happened in Iraq. I was so proud then that Chirac said no to an intervention in Iraq. I mean, I've been in Syria. I've seen the refugee camps of all the Iraqi families coming to these camps. I mean, Bashar al-Assad has tremendous defects, but at least he has been ensuring a certain stability in the country and the region and protecting the minorities.
All right, that is the example that's brought up very often. Very quickly before we go to the break.
They're very different cases. In Iraq, America was looking for weapons of mass destruction. It turned out they weren't there. It turned out for all sorts of reasons that Saddam Hussein was sort of bluffing and pretending he had them, and we never found them. Here, not only are there chemical weapons, they have been used, and they have been used against his own people. This is a crime, and this is something, Susan Rice said it. We must send a very strong message to them and to all the proliferators that we will not stand for this. And I just want to add one more thing. This is not about going into an open-ended war in Syria. Barack Obama is the last guy who wants to throw himself into a third war in a decade. What this is about, and he and the people around him have stated this very, very clearly, is to encourage Mr. Assad to come to the negotiation table so that they can then negotiate, because Assad is not ready to go.
Whether or not this brings him to the negotiating table is a matter that we'll pick up on when we come back. This is the France 24 debate.